So I wanted to introduce this yoga pose. It's called Pashimo Tanasana. It's a forward bend pose, and it's something that anybody can get into to some degree right away, even if you have never done any yoga. This is a really particularly interesting pose because it helps you manage your sex drive. And that may sound a little odd, but really very useful. And so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to read what this pose does out of this book. This is called Light on Yoga by B.K.S. Iyengar. Iyengar was the first individual to bring yoga from India into the Western world. Very famous yoga instructor who passed away, unfortunately, several years ago, at the age of 93. Mr. Iyengar was I believe was a lacto-ovo vegetarian, as many Indians are. Who knows how long he would have lived, had he been aware of or been practicing raw food. I think he would have stayed alive a lot longer. But he was a cooked vegetarian, and which is far better than the alternative. And he brought the gift of yoga really to the Western world. He was the one that started the whole yoga thing. Anyway, so Pashimotanasana. I'm going to read just what this pose does. The asana tones the abdominal organs and keeps them free from sluggishness. It also tones the kidneys, rejuvenates the whole spine, and improves digestion. So that's pretty nice, huh? Then he goes on to say, the spines of animals are horizontal and their hearts are below the spine. This keeps them healthy and gives them great power of endurance. In humans, the spine is vertical and the heart is not lower than the spine, so that they soon feel the effects of exertion and are also susceptible to heart diseases. In Pashimotanasana, the spine is kept straight and horizontal, and the heart is at a lower level than the spine. A good stay in this pose massages the heart, the spinal column, and the abdominal organs, which feel refreshed, and the mind is rested. Due to the extra stretch given to the pelvic region, more oxygenated blood is brought there, and the gonad glands absorb the required nutrition from the blood. Very interesting. This increases vitality, helps to cure impotency, and leads to sex control. Hence, the asana was called Brahmacharyasana. Brahmacharya means celibacy, and brahmachari is one who has controlled the sex appetite. Okay, so I found this very effective as far as that goes. Anyways, I'll put up a picture of B.K.S. Iyengar doing this pose, which is far more in form than I am, but I will demonstrate this for you right now. It's really quite easy. Basically, being a forward bending pose, you're just going to sit. Okay, sit with your legs out and your spine straight, your shoulders back, your head up, and take some deep breaths. When I breathe while I'm doing yoga, I breathe in 4 counts and out 6. This helps to actually eliminate toxins in your body by breathing out longer than you breathe in. If you do it right before you go to bed, you'll need less sleep and you'll wake up more refreshed than you usually do. This type of breathing. So anyways, take a couple of deep breaths. Just lean forward and grab your toes, keeping your spine straight. And then gradually bend down. I haven't really done any warm-up exercises, so I'm not that flexible right now. Keep on breathing. You bend down. You can get to this pose. Keep your head up. Rest there a few minutes. As you can see, let me show you my hands. When you start like this, and as you get more flexible, you're going around actually dropping your elbows, leaning forward, and then you reach around and grab each hand around your feet. So if we just grab the toes, start up here, grab the toes, drop the elbows, lean forward, and then bring your hands around the feet and come all the way down with your head between your knees. And you can breathe deeply. You can feel, it forces you to feel the air going all the way down into your gut. You can feel your stomach. And apparently because you're bending forward like this, the combination of the breathing and the pose massages your abdominal organs. When you start to get the pose, you can start doing variations, one of which is switching your hands to opposite sides of your feet, twisting at the base of the spine and bringing your head under your arm on both sides. So that is the yoga pose, Pashimo Tanasana. And like I say, like he says, like Iyengar says in his book, it's you can control your sex drive with it, which can be very useful. So yeah, that's a nice easy pose for people to start with. Okay, the second thing I wanted to do in part 2 was introduce my experience with astrology. Like I said in the intro, astrology is a bastardized science. Okay, basically what astrology means to the average person is you look at the column in the newspaper and it gives you some cute little things about your day, you know, don't do this and don't do that, or, you know, today you might meet somebody, or blah, blah, blah. So that's what astrology means to most people. Other than that, it's some far out hippie bullshit, right? Well, don't put down the hippies, because the hippies gave us a lot of things, right? They were the only ones who had the balls to try to do stuff that was unconventional, and out of that came a lot of incredible innovations and whatnot. One of those things was the reintroduction of astrology into culture, into American culture. Anyways, but it's still a long, long ways from ever being manifested in our culture as something incredibly useful. Which my experience has been that it's just an incredibly useful science. It's not even a science, really. It's an art. So that being said, I'm actually writing a book. I'm working on a book right now called the 9 Circles of Cosmic Programming, and I'm making it into a book that is useful. All right. Because I've found astrology to be amazingly useful, and so that's the orientation of the book. I mean, you don't need to approach astrology with some guy with a protractor and a lot of fancy vocabulary, and he's got all these charts, and and he talks for an hour, and the only thing you get out of it is like a half a sentence. Oh, I should be cautious next month, after he's talked for a whole hour, right? Told you all about these conjunctions and aspects and blah, 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 and you don't know what the hell he's talking about. And the only takeaway from your wasted hour is some little blip about, whether or not you should go to the grocery store tomorrow, or if you should go today, instead. Anyways, so that's my big complaint about the way astrology is presented these days. So I'll get right into it. Yeah, I'll briefly explain what I'm doing in the book. What I'm doing in the book is I'm presenting a series of templates. And each one of these templates tells you a little bit more about an individual. Okay, because astrology is about individuals. It's about their makeup, their what I call cosmic programming. And I think we should stop for a minute and consider the fact that really, if we don't, as individuals, consider ourselves to be completely connected to the universe. I mean, personally, I don't see how it can be any other way. All right? We are totally connected to each other in the universe. And to decry that is just it's due to a lack of knowledge, lack of comprehension, right? And to a certain extent, just arrogance. We are connected to everything, all other beings, all other living creatures, the earth, the cosmos, and to think that we're not connected to those things or above those things is just flat out arrogance. So anyways, I'll get off the soapbox and get into it. So if you know nothing about astrology, right, you don't even know what your sign is, right? Okay, so I'm going to start from there. Astrology is divided into, it's a wheel, it's a circle, as a descriptive device, okay? The circle is divided into 12, and each little 1/12 section is an astrological sign. And those are assigned to that 1/12 of the circle according to the dates, right? So everybody knows that they have an astrological sign if they fell in between a particular date, right? In my case, it's Taurus. It's like May or April 22nd or something to May 21st, right? Something like that. I don't have the exact dates. So that's basically it, and that circle has all kinds of divisions and aspects that let you know, give you more information. But I'm going to start with the most basic. So what we're going to do is we're going to take those 12 signs and that circle of 12, we're going to divide it in half. Okay. And as you will find out, as I will discuss, 1/4 of the circle is then divided into quarters. Okay, so you have, in those quarters, you have 4 different types of signs. Okay, so according to their element to which they correspond. So there's earth, water, air, and fire. Okay, those are the 4 elements. Now, the real thing I want you to remember and recognize is that the most basic division, the thing that's most basic in terms of information that you get about an individual or yourself, okay, is whether or not their orientation is masculine positive or feminine negative, okay? So if we divide the circle in half, 6 of the signs are masculine positive and 6 of the signs are feminine negative, okay? So that tells us, first of all, this is the most basic part of astrology, the most basic aspect. It tells us, first of all, that any individual, including yourself, that you encounter is either going to have a positive masculine orientation, and I'll discuss what that means in a minute, or they're going to have a feminine negative orientation, okay? And there's many things that you can tell from this. So all you have to do is you need to know the person's sign, okay? If that person's sign is a water or an earth sign, they are feminine negative, okay? That's their orientation. This is like the bedrock of their personality, the bedrock of their orientation. Okay. If that person is an air or a fire sign, okay, they are masculine positive. Okay. That's their bedrock. Okay. So, what does that mean? Okay, well, that means that if you're an earth or a water sign, and I'll name those signs right now. Earth is Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Okay, water is Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Okay, so those 6 signs, if you're any one of those 6 signs, your bedrock makeup, composition, at the very minimal level is feminine negative. What that means is that how that manifests with people is that means that they will display a certain amount of feminine traits. The overall presentation that that you conceive when I don't know how to say it, that you notice in a person are going to be more feminine traits. Okay, doesn't necessarily mean that they're gay or anything like that if they're a male and they're a water and earth sign. It just means that they have a certain femininity about them that they will, that will be evident if you look for it. Most people are not looking for it, so they don't notice it. And you will also notice about their makeup is that they tend to be negative. Okay, they tend to be, more of a negative outlook, which is not a bad thing necessarily, because you need to be critical in life. You need to possess the ability to do critical thinking, to reject things that don't make sense, that are suspicious, and right. So the orientation of a water and earth sign will tend to be oriented towards the negative or the critical thinking aspect, whereas on the positive masculine side, those people are going to show obvious masculine traits. Now, if you take a woman who is a fire or an air sign, she's going to have a very definite sort of masculinity about her in terms of the way she goes about things. Of course, masculinity basically means they're more out front. They're more, they sort of manifest all those things you think of when it comes to masculinity. Outgoing and more forceful and more authoritative and lacking in hesitancy and that sort of thing. I don't know exactly how many masculine traits you can identify, but there's definitely masculine traits. So, so right there we have the most basic breakdown of people according to their signs in astrology. Okay, feminine negative, masculine positive. Now it's very interesting. I've observed this many times that males, feminine negative males, earth signs and water signs, in this case Taurus, in my case Taurus, tend to wear their hair long, right? So here, right? I mean, for me, it just feels comfortable. I just like it, so I wear my hair long. I don't get it cut, But that definitely issues from the fact that I'm a feminine negative sign. I'm a Taurus, and you will notice amongst men that most of the men that wear their hair longer are either a water or an earth sign. So how can that be? Well, it's your connection to the cosmos. It's the influence of the planets, and it's indisputable. You will find earth and water signs who have short hair, right? But if you find a male with long hair, 9 times out of 10 that person is going to be a negative feminine sign, and the long hair is just an expression of that particular feminine orientation. On the other hand, you'll find that most women, especially under the age of 50, because women tend to cut their hair when they get over 50, especially women who have short hair, okay, tend to be masculine positive, right? They're emulating the whole masculine metaphor, or whatever you want to call it, by keeping their hair short, right? And you will find that those individuals have a lot of masculine traits. So that's basically it. That's all I wanted to introduce at this point. And know that if you know your sign, or you go find out your sign, it's going to be a great help to you to be aware of this. Because if you find yourself being negative about a lot of things, being overcome by negative attitudes or negative opinions, or just you're plagued by that, if you know that you're a negative feminine sign, then you can work with that. Oddly enough, if you find a person who's a negative feminine sign and they are very positive, very ebulliently positive, I know a lot of people like this, it's because that they recognize that fact, right, early on, and they knew that they had to balance it by being more positive. So some of the most positive people that I have known are negative feminine signs who have adjusted and realized that they needed to balance out that negativity. They may have done this unconsciously, or they may have done it consciously. But at any rate, you immediately can recognize the pitfalls, because if you are a negative sign, if you're an earth or a water sign, that's a pitfall that you don't want to fall into. But on the other hand, you have a highly developed sense of critical, highly developed critical sense, which is very useful, can really help you navigate through life. So, in the other case, I'll have to say honestly, I haven't found really. I do notice people that get negative who are masculine positive signs, air signs, or fire signs, but it's not a sort of all-encompassing kind of negativity. It's more a momentary negativity, right? And those people who are more balanced realize that they can't be positive about everything. They have a tendency to be really positive about everything, right? Which is great. But in some cases, like if somebody offers you a Big Mac and you go, oh, wow, yeah, the Big Macs are great, I love them, well, then you're doing yourself a disservice, right? Because you're relying on your positive attitude. You tend to be positive about everything, whatever you're going to be positive about a Big Mac, the color on the package, or the smell, the addictive smell of the salt or whatever. So the balanced people in that category, the masculine positive sign, realize that they need sometimes to curtail their positivity because it will get them in trouble, right? So right there, you have an incredibly useful aspect of astrology that nobody ever talks about. Now, you can dial up astrologers all day long on YouTube, and you can listen to their spiel. They're never going to mention something about this. And this is like the most basic aspect of you and me and our astrological makeup, is that we have this dichotomy in the signs, one oriented towards femininity and negativity. You always hear about the earth being negative feminine, right? So, there's an earth sign or a water sign. And then, of course, on the other side, you have like a Leo who's ruled by the sun, who's got to be positive. A Leo has to be positive because they're ruled by the sun, right? They're like the shining sun. They make things grow. So, anyways, yeah, I just wanted to put that forth, and this will give you an idea of what I'm going to get into on this astrology thing. Um, it's just an incredibly useful science that has been buried beneath the, all the all the, whatever, people studying the science of astrology and getting all involved in the complexities and all that stuff, and they completely take away the usefulness of it. I haven't studied the history of astrology. Someday I will. But it was obvious that the Egyptians knew it very well. And they were really the first civilization to be highly organized and all that kind of stuff, and be very sophisticated. And my theory is that they just sort of brought together a lot of the original cosmic connection that human beings had when they had balanced hemispheres and were eating, fruits and greens in the forest. And that cosmic connection, I believe, it seems logical to me, through the millions of years of social evolution, just became codified. Once we started to become corrupt with cooked food and eating animals and all that stuff, rather than having an undefined connection to the universe, whatever was left of that connection became codified and ultimately wound up being, institutionalized by the Egyptians. And since that time, of course, it's been, totally, poo-pooed by the establishment, to the point where it's pretty much regarded as a useless, far-out hippie kind of thing, right? Or you got to have a PhD to understand, what astrologers are telling you. So, anyways, so I will continue that this dialogue in the future. Once again, this is Trace Perot. This is my YouTube channel 20 at 70, which I created because I'm going to be 70 in 5 months, and I feel like I'm 20, and it's primarily because of my explorations in the plant-based world, and for the last 15 years that has been as a low-fat raw vegan, also known as an 80-10-10er. So thank you, and I will see you on the next video.